All right, boys and girls, once we have your entire flower and your background colored with your crayons, the last thing that we need to do is we need to take our watercolor paints and we're going to paint over our picture. Now, because we already have crayon on here, which crayons are made of wax, we are going to call this a wax resist, because with watercolor paints and wax of crayons, the two don't mix. The wax pushes away or resists the watercolor paint. But if we have any little spots of white paper, the paint will attach to that white paper. So following along with our ideas of using warm colors, cool colors, I want you to choose what color of paint based on the color family you use. So if you used warm colors on your petals, I want you to choose a warm color of paint to paint over them. If you used cool colors for your petals, I want you to choose a cool color of paint to paint over your petals. So I will start by wetting my brush, of course, and I used warm colors. So I will pick a warm color of paint for my petals, and I am simply going to use a little bit of yellow for mine. Wet my paint, and I'm going to paint over my petal areas. Using more water will make the color appear a little bit lighter. Using less water will make the color appear a little bit darker. And I'm going to paint over my entire petals. And you can see it does change the look of it a little bit, because now that paint color is filling in anywhere there might be a little bit white of the paper. You'll also see how the crayon will push away the watercolor paint. So it won't necessarily let the paint cover over the waxy areas of the crayon. And again, notice how I am painting in the same direction that I used my crayons, from the center out to the outside edge of the petal. I'm not going across this way with my brush. I'm going the direction this flower would grow, from the center out. Try to get my little areas there. And you would do all of your petals the same way, with the same color. I'm using yellow, so I would use yellow on each one of my petals and paint over my crayon. If you need to, turn your paper as you're working. And you're just going to see this change a little bit. So that would be for your petals. You would do all of your petals the same way. Clean out your brush. The center of your flower, you can choose to paint however you want to. So if you remember, I used a little bit of white crayon on there. So I think I'm going to go over this as well with yellow, and we'll see what happens with some of that white crayon. So you can see how some areas are going to stay white because I had used that white crayon. So the white crayon is just kind of pushing away the yellow paint. I'm going to stay consistent with my yellow here. Notice how I'm painting over my black, but the black crayon is just kind of pushing away the watercolor paint. I would finish painting my center. Now, when I get to doing my background, I have to change things up a little bit. Instead of using the color family I used for my petals, which for me was warm, for you it might be cool, now we do the opposite. So my background, because I used cool colors in my background, I am now going to use a cool color of paint to paint over my background area. And I'm going to go with my blue. And again, I would just paint right over the crayon, right on top of it. See how that crayon is pushing away the paint? Just gonna spread it out and fill in any white areas. Gives it a really neat effect. You can see it kind of puddling up there because the crayon, the wax is just pushing it away. But it will fill in any little spots, any little white areas where the crayon did not cover. And I'm going in that same direction with my brush as when I colored with my crayon. So you will just continue painting until you have your whole background filled in. Now remember, you don't want puddles here, okay? We have a little bit of puddling going on because of this wax resist, but we should not see large puddles of paint or water on your paper. So just keep that in mind. Also notice where I'm holding my brush. I'm not way back here on my brush. I'm closer to this little silver part right here. You can even feel the bump there. That will help you. All right, enjoy.